I cover a whole lot of stories, and sometimes I cover things on celebrities, etc. And celebrities, as a part of their portfolios, they do things that sometimes makes one wonder. I've had sort of a angst towards Tyler Perry because, in my humble opinion, a lot of the way he built his fortune, in my opinion, was ridiculing African Americans. And notice I didn't say ridiculing black folks. I said ridiculing African Americans, because what he many times I thought was doing was sort of ridiculing the culture. That's my opinion. So for the longest time, I remember going early on when he just started, and I think it was either DVDs or even before DVDs used to release, I think it was tapes. I remember going to the home of a friend here in Kingwood, and they had one of his tapes or DVDs. They played it, and because he used to tape them live, and I looked around and I'm like, why would somebody try to do that? I just sort of got upset at watching the tape, but it kind of caught on, just like certain things catch on, and he started to grow and grow and grow. And I remember watching a couple of his movies and noticing sort of what happened to black professional men in his movies. It always seemed that he made them abusive, take advantage of women, etc., etc. And that kind of stuff really irked me. Look, all the black men, all the men that I hang around in general, do the right thing. So I don't know what stereotype he was doing out there, but I know he was in fact setting a stereotype. That's personal. That may be my sensibilities. What really got to me back in 2019 was when a good friend of mine, an activist reporter out of Atlanta, she called me up and she said, Egberto, Tyler Perry got this big deal in Atlanta, and it's in a black neighborhood, and purportedly he got all these tax breaks. And the idea behind this tax break is to revitalize the area that he was in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what she did is we did a live show. I did a show on what I found out about him doing, about the breaks that he got. And then she went and did a live show with her iPhone, and we brought her in live to Politics Done Right as she went around the neighborhood, went around the gated studio, that was pretty much smack in the middle of this neighborhood, and protected against the people on the outside. And it just irked me that you had this company run by Tyler Perry's company, smack in a black neighborhood, giving $30 million in tax breaks, doesn't pay any taxes on the property that he got. It's the property now, a former base. And the neighborhood that it's in is pretty much a squalor. So I did that piece, and I linked that piece in my newsletter. Actually, I did two pieces on it. One where she's outside of the studio, going around the neighborhood with the blight, with people on the streets, sleeping on the streets, etc., in that area. And then the other live we did from Atlanta, she did it from within the studio. She kind of finagled herself inside the studio, inside of the grounds of the studio, and she's out there, doing some shoots for me live on the show. Now, Jacobin, it's 2023. That was 2019. 2023, Jacobins writes an article because Perry has this puff piece out on, I think it's Amazon, where he goes and they talk about his story from poverty into success and lifting himself up from the bootstraps and all that kind of stuff. My wife saw the program and she came and she was all, wow, that story about Tyler Perry and all of that was great. And here comes the Grinch, Egberto. It's like, well, I'm not particularly a fan of Perry because, again, of how I thought he came, how this stuff was built, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I see this article titled, Tyler Perry's wealth is not trickling down to Black residents of Atlanta. And that all automatically tickled me. So I said, let me read it. So I want to read sections of this for you. Filmmaker and entrepreneur Tyler Perry is a billionaire. His Atlanta studio received massive tax write-off premise on the idea that his success will inspire others. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's a liberal version of trickle-down economics. And it says, the new Amazon Prime film, Maxine's Baby, documents the rise of Tyler Perry, who was born into poverty and hardship in New Orleans and overcame racism and long odds to become one of the highest paid entertainers in the world, a billionaire no less. While the film tries to affect the tone of a serious examination, it's ultimately a glossy 2-hour commercial for the filmmaker and entrepreneur, a chance for Oprah Winfrey and Whoopi Goldberg to hype him as among the pantheons of today's greatest cinematic innovators. Is Tyler Perry running for office? Ask RogerEbert.com. Maybe not, but it's a fair question. The ethos that structures the film's feel-good arc has been the beating heart of the Democratic Party's vision of social justice since the Obama years. By now, most liberals wince at the mention of Reagan-branded trickle-down economics. Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama all use the term in a derogatory manner. The irony is that these liberals, in addition to a weak commitment to hiking taxes on the rich, have their own version of the theory. Their thinking goes that when members of marginalized groups make it to the top of the economic and cultural ladder, their ascent is an automatic gain for remaining members of that group. But Tyler Perry's fame and wealth have not trickled down to working class and poor Black people in his home city of Atlanta. Perry celebrated the 2019 opening of his production studio on a defunct Fort McPherson Army base with sound stages named for wealthy Black celebrities, including Winfrey, Goldberg, as life-changing act of social justice of surrounding community. When I built my studio, I built it in a neighborhood that's one of the poorest Black neighborhoods in Atlanta so that young Black kids can see a Black man did that and they can do that too. I was trying to help them cross, Perry proclaimed during the BET Awards speech. You know, that kind of talking never turns me on. I want to be an example to other Black people so they can see what I do. You don't need to be an example overtly. You are an example by your works, by what you do. And people see you and inherently they look at you and they say, I can achieve. That is what Obama was when Obama became president. Black people saw that it was una meta. It was a goal that it's okay to strive for because there is somebody who actually did it. But I digressed. Back to the article. In fact, it's been the other way around. Almost all of Atlanta's residents have subsidized Tyler Perry's personal wealth, which reportedly topped $1 billion this year in some way or another. In 2015, Perry acquired the Fort McPherson land for the significantly discounted market price of $30 million, though it had been appraised for as much as $75 million. Let me break right there from the article and explain something. If Tyler Perry bought a market valued property for that's worth $75 million and he got it for $30 million, that is you people of Atlanta, you immediately increase Tyler Perry's worth, his wealth, by $45 million. Because listen to this, had Atlanta, instead of giving that property to Tyler Perry for $30 million, had they sold it to some other company for $75 million, that would have been an extra $45 million in the coffers of Atlanta. If they had sold it at the market value, an extra $45 million would have been there. But it gets worse. Some local Democrats called it a sweetheart deal between Perry and his friend Kasim Reed, then the mayor of Atlanta. Critics said it seemed designed to help the moguls pocketbook rather than the poor black neighborhood around it. It felt like a trick, a dirty, dirty trick, said one local resident after the deal was announced. Forbes now estimates that Tyler's studio is worth $280 million, but because of a tax deal made with local officials, he's had to pay zero property taxes on it from 2015 to 2022. You see, all those poor people that live around that base that is surrounded by a fence that is now Tyler Studios, they all are paying property taxes. Likely their property taxes would have been increased because the value of their property have increased given that Tyler Perry built his studio there. People, that's money. And by the way, I'm on to Tyler Perry on this, but this occurs with all billionaires and rich people, irrespective of who they are. I just happen to be talking about Tyler Perry, who I think should understand better. I mean, buy the thing at $75 million so the people can profit from that. But no, that was his profit. That's money would otherwise largely go to Atlanta public schools, whose student body is disproportionately poor and black. In 2023, the Fulton County assessor calculated the studio's value at $74 million. So even the appraised value of the studio, $74 million, is nowhere close to the market value of $280 million. You want to know why rich people continues to get rich faster than poor people are able to build your worth? These deals are what I'm talking about. About a quarter of Forbes' estimate, which means taxes are less than $1 million that he has to pay whenever he starts to pay taxes. Additionally, Perry has taken advantage of the 30% state tax credit given the film production in Georgia. The share of tax money used to subsidize Hollywood productions cost Georgia voters an average of $330 per household last year. Perry earned plenty of glowing national headlines earlier this year for his philanthropy in donating $750,000 to help low-income seniors in Atlanta as property taxes increase. So everybody say, oh, what a nice guy. He gave $750,000 to help poor people pay their taxes. But he took $45 million in excess from what he paid, didn't pay for that land for the studio, and he paid zero taxes between 2015 and 2022. Still, there was no mention of the layers upon layers of tax breaks he got in the first place. Meanwhile, Atlanta now has the worst income inequality in the nation, with the median household income for a black family at $28,000 compared to $83,000 in the same city for white families. Some of the neighborhoods and southern and west suburbs surrounding Tyler's Perry Studios remain among the most poverty-stricken. Hey, I did the report in 2019. Nothing has changed. He got the property now. He has a property now, I think, almost 10 years. How has the neighborhood changed? The only thing I think can be accounted for is a lot of the board. By the way, the Atlanta activist reporter that I work with, she's also a real estate agent. But she's one of the good ones out there that tries to make deals and put people into homes. She showed what's happening to the home values, that people are having to move out because Tyler Perry has moved in, and the property value around his studio has increased. Don't think it's not going to be gentrified, because we spoke about that as well. Okay, so continue. Some of the neighborhoods in southwestern suburbs surrounding Tyler Perry's studio remain among the poorest, poverty-stricken. Not that you'll hear anything about that in the documentary they just made about him. But perhaps, goes the thinking, these struggling residents will one day see the Amazon Prime film or peer through the gates and stare up at the 35,000 square foot $100 million mega mansion Perry is building nearby and be inspired to lift themselves out of poverty. If that sounds familiar, it's because Maxine Baby is a liberal twist on a familiar trope. One man's journey to the heights of fame and fortune will trickle down and become everyone else's success. Folks, capitalism doesn't know color. Capitalism doesn't have a heart. Capitalism doesn't care as long as it builds on capital. It builds one's capital. That's what it's all about. And when you see Jay-Z, who is worth billions on the backs of many, and his cousin asks him for $5,000 for a venture, and he goes out and he makes a big issue with it on national radio and says something to the effect, he thinks it's just easy to for $5,000, and this is for $5,000. He has ripped millions of dollars off of rap artists that he works with, allegedly. Okay, but he 5,000. It is just amazing what capitalism does to one's heart, what capitalism does to one's soul.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.